I actually tried to take a snippet of this and blew it up, but it ends up being blurry when I did it for some reason. All right, look at this. If you haven't heard of this particular company, it's called Trident X slash Flatstone. It's in regards to ATS payment rails, right? So they wrote this a while back, but it's significant. So it states Trident X and ATS payment rails includes Stellar slash Swift slash Ripple. They are a global payment solution for digital transformation. Now, it states back on September 6th of 2022, only a few months ago, one of the main topics that was discussed during that time was distributed ledger technology, as we know, DLT. And there was a particular pilot at the time, right? So you got to keep in mind this was just introduced at a few months ago. But one of the ones that you definitely see here, for instance, was even dating back to a previous discussion a few months before that was, for instance, Ripple in regards to markets in crypto assets, actually abbreviated as MICA. Now, one of the key things I want to show you guys is this right here. They specifically talked about in this discussion, listen to this, the adoption of digital currencies. That's one of the main key takeaways I want you guys to have from this. So Flatstone believed basically that digital currency adoption will happen as a result from the demographic shift and the massive expansion of just that, the central bank balance sheets. You guys have heard some of the other guys talk about this. For instance, Coach JV of 3T Warriors Academy, Crypto Lulu has talked about this. Versan Alarja from Black Swan Capitalist has talked about this, about M2 money supply, right? So it says clearly the cost of minting, printing physical currency M1 exceeds the utility when demand for currency exceeds the supply required for post-pandemic recovery programs. Listen to this. While we support the impending issuance of central bank digital currencies regulated by the Bank of International Settlements, we caution ECB against banning the public blockchain cryptocurrencies. Key thing here, they're against the banning of just that, public blockchain cryptocurrencies, because they recognize, why should we hinder these technologies? We should adapt or adopt, I should say, these particular technologies. So it says these can be used and be regulated by ESMA as financial contracts or instruments with full legal status and legislation. When you get more into the upcoming months in March and so on, at least in my humble opinion, when it comes to Congress trying to get regulatory clarity on this whole thing, it helps to go back and refer to the likes of Trident X slash Flatstones with their particular discussions when it comes to just that. The Bank of International Settlements, understanding the impending issuance of CBDCs. But the most important thing is the adoption of what the technology is based into blockchain technology. Now, you will see on this other particular page, it says, according to the analysis and thesis of our Trident X project, the most significant challenges identified under these reviews result from changes in the regulatory framework and the shift, key thing here, shift in market perception of cryptocurrencies, in particular compliance, right? That's obviously going to be a big thing when it comes to regulatory clarity. But look at some of the verbiage, right? Interoperability. We're always talking about like the quant, all this, right? Obviously, this is the segment for Stellar and Ripple. But check this out in regards to specifically interoperability. Widespread adoptions by retail and institutions. Hence why you're mentioning both Stellar, retail side, and Ripple, right? For instance, banking sector side. So it says legacy systems and decentralized fintech public infrastructure ultimately enabling cross trading. And that's one of the key takeaways I want to give you guys here, because I think, if anything, this is a nice point of reference that they're going to be using for just that, regulatory clarity. And once we get that, things are going to be something else, to say the least, when it comes to widespread adoption, because you're going to have the institutional money coming in. I know we keep saying that, but it's true. On top of that, I want to point out a little bit more. I know I highlighted some of this right here. You do see, for instance, Stellar Lumens being part of that mix. The retail, Ripple, part of the financial sector. That's the main key takeaways. A little bit more in regards to this before we kick it back into the comments. I want to show you guys this. So here's an example from the World Bank, right? That specifically mentions Ripple and Stellar's bridge assets. Again, this is a little bit more of like the educational side of things here, but it's important to know this if you were wondering, you know, you're going to throw me a curveball, for instance, and Max, you have to pick, for instance, LCX or the likes of Ripple. You can only pick one. Well, if I'm only going to have to pick one, I still have to go with this because I'm seeing here, you know, the institutional money coming in, right? So look at this. Box 6, examples of alternative solutions to corresponding banking. Ripple says the model focuses on commercial cross-border interbank payments combined with cross-currency fund settlement. Ripple allows for a move away from establishing upfront correspondent banking relationships towards a more dynamic approach. This approach identifies a path for the flow of funds. Listen to this, flow of funds from a sender in a particular currency to a receiver in a particular currency through a series of participating institutions that offer services for that currency. That's one of the key takeaways. Now, take that where it says, for instance, universal CBDCs discussed, I guess you could say a while back from this piece from the World Bank. You will see that, for instance, there's existing platforms such as Stellar, not just Ripple, that could provide a part in the infrastructure for this type of solution. You want infrastructure? Here's your infrastructure. Then on top of that, notice that says universal CBDC. You have this right here. Currencies issued by the participating central banks. The third uses a cross-border universal, wrapped CBDC. Ooh, we're getting those terms again. Backed by a basket of currencies issued by the participating central banks. The universal wrapped CBDC poses significant implementation challenges, right? Because if anything, you have to understand, is it going to be backed by a certain metal, gold? What is the case going to be? But look at what it says on the very, very bottom. The third group of fintech approaches the de-risking issuance that consists of attempts to redefine the existing correspondent banking architecture, often by using cryptocurrencies as a bridge of assets. For instance, you're going to have a number of different bridge assets that are going to be proposed from Bitcoin to Ether, but specifically cryptocurrency such as, here we go, the magic moment, XRP promoted by Ripple, or look at this, Lumens promoted by Stellar. Yes, it says specifically such efforts need to be treated, however, with caution. The viability of cryptocurrencies to facilitate cross-border transfers will be dependent on the availability to convert cryptocurrencies, and that's the main thing. Understanding the technologies are tied to these particular cryptos are selected to be what? The bridge assets. That's the main key takeaway. And when we get regulatory clarity, that's why I can't just pick one. That's why I got to go with, for instance, if I do have to pick one, I got to go with Ripple's XRP. I see what is coming up here soon. Yeah, there's a lot of opportunity with LCX. I'm not going to FUD LCX, but I'm also looking at it from the price perspective. We're going to see insane market caps here in the future. So with that said, I think there might be one more thing, and that is this. Look at the key thing in the middle, platform connectivity and interoperability. We're always talking about that with Quant. But look at this, interoperability via ILP can connect existing networks as well. And you have, for instance, Ripple right in the middle. And on top of that, from the retail side, you have the likes of Stellar.
Thank you so much for watching, guys. If you have not yet subscribed, do yourself a favor and subscribe for more information on the ISO 222 compliant tokens, and hit the notification bell to make sure that you are aware of the new videos when they come up. Max and I cover these ISOs, and we also have a live show every single night at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Make sure you tune in for that. You won't want to miss it. Thanks again, and we will see you on the next video.